Okay, so I wrote some code in an Excel spreadsheet that allows you to do the Tukey-Kramer post-hoc test after a significant ANOVA. And it's a superior post-hoc test, and I'm going to show you how to run it. What we're going to start with here is our raw data. And in this experiment, we had a bunch of pigs, and we gave them one of 4 different feeds. All the pigs started at the same weight, and this is their final weight after 30 days on each feed. Okay, so we want to do an ANOVA to see if any of these feeds gave the pigs significantly different growth, right? So I'm going to do a simple ANOVA, just like I always do. And I'll run an ANOVA single factor. My input range is the raw data, and I'm going to select everything. It's grouped by columns. The labels are in the first row because the first row tells me which feed is which. I'm going to put the output right next to the raw data, and I hit OK. And we resize these columns so we can see everything. And that's just like we did before when you ran an ANOVA. And here you see each of the feeds, how many you had in each group, and the average pig weight for each group. And then down here we have the ANOVA results. And if you look, we have a significant p-value. So we can reject the null and say that at least one of these groups is different, but we don't know which one or which ones are significantly different. That's why we need the post-hoc. So I wrote an Excel macro, and it's in a separate sheet, and I'm gonna show you the file name. You see here's the file name, and you see that it's ended with XLSM. When you see that M, that's Excel's way of telling you that there's a macro inside this file. Well, that's fine because this is a macro that I wrote. Now, people can write macros that have malicious code in them. That's why they want to warn you that there's a macro and there's some security involved with this macro. This is one that I wrote. I'm not trying to infect your computer, but just so you know what's going on. So when I launch this folder, you see that I have this warning here. Security warning, macros have been disabled, and I can click this to enable the content. All right. Since this is a file that I sent you, you can go ahead and click this, and now the macro will run. And chances are the next time you open this file, you won't have to do that warning, or maybe you will. You can play with those settings if you go to File, Options, Trust Center, and then Trust Center Settings. Now it's different for different versions of Excel, but if you go to Macro Settings, you see that you have different options here. You can disable without notification, so it won't even warn you until you try to run it. I have mine set to disable with notification. You can choose to just go ahead and enable them, but I wouldn't do that because you never know when you're going to get a bad macro from the internet. So if yours won't run, or if you get different settings, just come here and change this to disable all macros with notification, and it should be fine. Okay? But again, only run macros from people that you trust. And you can trust me, can't you? All right. So if you look at the file that I made, you have a spot here on the Enter Data tab for the groups, the sample size, the mean for each group, and the mean squared within groups. That's the information that you need to run the Tukey-Kramer post-hoc test. So go back to your ANOVA, and here you've got the groups and the sample size for each group. And I'm going to hold down the control button and also select the average. So by holding down the control button, I can select, disconnected cells. And I'm going to go Control C, go to the macro workbook, select this cell here, and go Control V. And so now I've got each group, the sample size, and the mean for each group. Great. Now I need the mean squared within groups. I'm going to go back to my ANOVA table. Here's mean squared within groups, and it's that value right there. So I'm going to Control C to copy that. Go back to the macro sheet, Control V. Now I have everything I need to run the Tukey-Kramer. And so that's what this button is here for. So when I hit this button, it'll run the macro, and it'll put the results to this Results tab, and that's the post-hoc. So hit the button, boom, there are your results. You see you've got the different groups. Now they are organized from greatest mean to lowest mean. And over here, you have these letters which indicate which groups are significantly different. So if two groups share the same letter over here, then they are not significantly different. So you can see that the feed 3 and feed 2 are not significantly different. However, they are different from these two groups. You see that feed 3 and feed 2 do not share any letters with these two. You also see that feed 1 and feed 4, they share a letter, so they're not significantly different. So that you can say that feed 3 and feed 2 were not different from each other, but they had significantly greater pig weights than those that were fed feed 1 and feed 4. And that's it. That's the Tukey-Kramer post-hoc test. It's better than the ones we were running. If you have any questions, let me know. See ya.